I would never, ever upstage the athletic director at the University of Alabama. However, this morning there's someone that we'd just like to do a big front and center bear hug to, and that is Roll Tide Mama.
That's right. I told Regina I was coming on your show, and if I remembered right, you were a fan of hers last time. So I said, Regina, if you want your confidence boosted, this would be a good radio show to listen to today.
Yeah, well, that's good advice. Words of wisdom. I like you, Greg. I love your wife. I think she's gorgeous. I really do.
Well, thank you. I do, too. I outkicked my coverage, that's for sure.
Well, you did. And you've got a good-looking family. I was kind of I'm a Twitter follower of yours, and I'd seen a picture you posted of course, Regina, who you with affection call Roll Tide Mama, and your and the kids. That's a good-looking bunch, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we got a good family. Luckily, they got their looks from their mama, and they're good kids. Actually, our both boys have been in town. They're finishing up school at the University of Arizona. Nick's going to be a senior, Davis a junior, and they've both been in Tuscaloosa for a lot of the summer, so it's been great to have them here.
Have they met Coach Saban?
They haven't. I took Davis out to practice on Saturday, but Coach is pretty focused during the practice, and I'm going to certainly stay out of the way when it comes to that. But they haven't yet, but I know they'll get a chance to one of these days.
Did you have any idea years ago when you named one of those babies Nick that you would end up having two Nicks as a major part of your life?
That's a good question. Somebody else asked me that recently, and there was no knowledge at that point. We just always liked the name. So Nicholas was born in 1995. So where was Coach Saban then? Was he at Michigan State yet?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so he, I guess I knew something at that time. We were able to have. I always say I've got ESPN, but I don't have ESP. So.
It was destiny, man.
That's right.
All right. Before we get to talking a little sports, let's talk a little music because I know it is one of your passions. You recently were spotted at Sloss Fest wearing your Sturgill Simpson T-shirt, rocking out. You're a huge Sturgill fan. Is that correct?
That's it. That is correct. And we had a great time being there, and it was a lot of fun. And what a performer he is. It's interesting watching him. I don't know if he necessarily enjoys the spotlight. I think he's such an artist and loves his music. But I'm not sure and I have no inside knowledge on this, but I'm guessing he probably didn't think he'd be playing in front of, however many people were there, 15,000, 20,000.
That's right.
He didn't.
He had no idea.
And so but I think he's one of those maybe reluctant celebrities is my guess.
Yeah.
But he's so talented. I just love his music. And actually, month of July is when we get some time off. And so we went to Kenny Chesney the other night, and then we went down to Jackson in July and saw Jason Isbell.
Wow,
too, so.
you've got great
so much.
You've got great taste in music.
Yeah.
I think part of Sturgill's charm is that he is a reluctant celebrity. Now, does Roll Tide Mama Regina share your love for these artists, or do you impose this on her?
It's more imposing on her than anything. But I think she's taken a liking to the Jason Isbell station on Pandora, so that's helped. But she's a good wife, and she's willing to put up with me on that. But the reality is when we are in the car together, I have no control over the stereo, and that's been the case for 20-some years. So, I think she figures all these years of always having control of stereo, she'll go to a couple concerts.
Well, hopefully, I pray to God we're going to hook her on the Steve Shannon Morning Show with Meg Summers at 95.3 The Bear, so at least she hits the right preset in the morning. I'm hoping. Now, does she impose any of her favorite artists on you? Like, do you have to endure Adele or anything like that from time to time?
Well, I don't mind Adele. My scope is pretty wide as far as what I like. But no, she does. Like anytime we're at home, most of the time it's listening to something she wants to listen to. So I think again that she puts up with that. But she hasn't taken. Trying to think of the concerts we've been to over the years, which really hasn't been that many. I think she took me to Janet Jackson, and I wasn't too excited about that. But we always have a good time when we're together.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. Speaking of reluctant celebrities, you were in your Sturgill T-shirt at that concert. Do you get recognized when you're hard to miss. What are you, like 8'4"? Do you get recognized when you're out as the Bama AD, or can you be incognito?
Yeah, as time is going on, it's happening more and more, and that's great. It means people care and they're excited about the program, and so I certainly understand when you live in Tuscaloosa or even the state of Alabama. I think people see me and they think, man, that guy's really tall. That's probably not him.
It looks like Greg Byrne.
Yeah.
He's too tall to be Greg Byrne.
and as time goes on, I think it'll probably happen more. In Tucson, it was pretty regular. But the way I always look at it is I'm really glad that people care. I'm glad they have passion about the program, and
Amen.
We're going to do everything we can to make them feel as good as they can about Alabama athletics on a daily basis. And if I can, myself and Regina and our family could be part of that, that's great.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You made a great decision here recently when you extended Alabama basketball coach Avery Johnson's contract. How about the fever right now and right here at the start of football season for Alabama basketball, man? The anticipation is hot.
Yeah, Avery and his staff have done a great job in the recruiting front and really just in the public relations and being able to just get people excited once again. I hear all the time that they're as excited about Alabama men's basketball as the time since Wimp was coaching. And that's a wonderful tribute to Avery, and then obviously the young men on the program are working hard, and I know they're up in Canada right now. They had their first win collectively together in an exhibition game against a university called McGill.
Last night they had a big time in Canada, didn't they?
They did, and I think some of the guys played real well, and that's good to see. And what it also tells you, our fall season starting and we're ready to get going for a whole nother year. A lot of our teams are already in action, and as far as practicing and getting ready and working out, and my office overlooks the practice fields for football, and so they're out there every day now. So it's in the air. You can tell that another school year is starting, and it's exciting to see that.
Greg Byrne, athletic director, University of Alabama. Greg, whose office is bigger, yours or Nick's?
Oh, I got it. I'll say Coach Saban's. It's interesting. They've kind of forced me to decorate my office a little bit, and I should, because you think all the people have had this over the years, especially Coach Moore and Coach Battle. Yeah. I want to make sure I show it the proper respect, but I also try to make sure it's not something where it's over the top with what I do. But it's a really nice office. I'm very fortunate to have it, and actually Mal's daughter was in town yesterday. Their daughter's going to be a freshman here at Alabama this year.
Okay.
So Heather and her husband and daughter were able to come in here, and we were able to spend a little bit of time. So I want to make sure I show it the respect that it deserves, and it's always good to be in here when you walk in here in the morning.
Well, I saw on Twitter that you were in the process of getting it decorated, and of course, I mean, the overall scheme of things, you haven't been here that long. You've been kind of busy. I would think that Regina, Roll Tide Mama, could help you out with that. I'd let her be in charge of that, man.
Well, she has. She actually helped me pick out a couple things that we're putting up, and actually my decorations from at Arizona are still in the garage, and so we're going to get those out of the boxes here. I think we're about done with all the unpacking, and we'll get them in here real quick.
Time to hang some pictures.
Exactly.
Got a basketball question. Someone suggested we ask you this, our friend Martin Houston. I think it's a good question. I want your reaction to it. He said if you go through Tide Pride to buy Alabama football tickets, it's required that you buy some basketball tickets. But a lot of people that buy those basketball tickets because they have to when they get football tickets don't go to the games. Maybe they don't live around Tuscaloosa, and then you got empty seats. And he's wondering if that policy possibly will ever change.
Well, that's a good question. We still have basketball season tickets to sell, even if you they don't require football tickets. But we are actually trying to work with our ticket provider, which is a group called Pacquiao, who helps manage all the computer side of it for us. And trying to find a better way for people to transfer seats very, very easily with no charges or anything like that to their account, to where they can easily get tickets in other people's hands, that we can have a central place for people that we could, through the Boys and Girls Clubs or different organizations like that. We don't have the solution done yet from a technology standpoint, but we're working on it. I don't know if it'll be done for this year, but I'm hoping it will. And so it's funny you asked that, we're actually working on that and talking to the folks from Pacquiao right now.
Very, very good. And update us on the progress. I know we talked about it when you first got here on maybe a rebuild on Coleman Coliseum. Is it too big? Do we need a smaller place? Is it just the right size? What's the status on the future of Coleman Coliseum?
So you look at basketball arenas across the country now that are being renovated, that are being built new, and there are a few that are being built new. It's very, very costly to do so. A lot of them are shrinking capacity, to where you want to make sure there's the demand on the ticket day in and day out, to where no matter who you're playing, you can have a really good crowd and intimate atmosphere at your games. And so we've hired a company that's doing pick and shovel look at Coleman, looking at what our options are. Do we want to renovate? Is it possible to get done what we wanted to? But what we're doing is a little even bigger picture. We're working potentially on looking at all of our facilities. And one of the things, I was talking to somebody the other day that we're going to have to make sure we keep in mind. We went through a bit of a time in the 80s and 90s. Obviously had a good run in the early 90s with Coach Stallings and everything. And really went through some challenging times even in the early 2000s, and we need to look at ourselves and say, how did that come about, and what do we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? And I think one of the most important things we do is make sure we keep up what we have, and that we keep our facilities on the forefront of college athletics, that we're able to, when it comes to recruiting, we're not taking a backseat to anybody. And so with that, I think one of the most important things, and Coleman Coliseum is going to be an important part of that, is looking and saying, okay, how do we keep up what we have to where they are state-of-the-art when it comes to college athletics, and so we're looking at that even from a bigger picture. Right?
Well, Greg, it sounds to me, based on what you just said, like then a new Coliseum is a priority for you.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't quite say it that way, but I think a renovated and up-to-date Coliseum is going to be important as part of our plan.
Very, very good. We have Captain Ray, who does traffic here on the Steve Shannon Morning Show with Meg Summers on the Bear. He also is a super-duper Uber driver and a Lyft driver, and has an idea that we want to very quickly present to you, Greg Byrne. I think this has a lot of potential. Captain Ray, Greg Byrne.
Hey, Greg, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Captain Ray. I'm doing good.
Good. All right. I've got a bunch of cards. Lyft is running a promotion. They're just a ride share, just like Uber.
Right.
And I just wanted to make sure I don't violate any NCAA rules.
Absolutely.
Please, I appreciate you asking.
All right. The card is you download the app, you use the custom promo code, and the rider gets a discount on their first ride.
Right.
Okay? I'm thinking, let's give these to our athletes, tell them to put it in their wallet, go ahead and download the app, but don't use it until you absolutely need it.
First of all, could you do that legally?
Yeah, if it's available to everybody, to the general public, then absolutely you can. One of the things we tell our student athletes, if it's available to the general student body, it's available to you. If it's not, if they're only trying to do it specifically for the student athletes, then it's a violation.
I think this is great on so many levels. It's easy to see. We just had the story with Deshaun Hand. We hate it when this happens, but it does on occasion.
Right.
If this could prevent one of those, it would be worthwhile, wouldn't it, Greg?
Well, absolutely, and that's something we take very seriously. And so, actually, a lot of our kids are already using Uber or Lyft. I don't have the numbers on them exactly, but I know that's something that they are using. And so that I appreciate you saying that, and I will actually talk to our life skills folks and see how are we introducing that to them to make sure that they know the options.
That is fantastic, and thank you, Captain Ray, for the idea. Meg Summers.
I do have a question for you, Greg, and I just want to know, as we start a new school year at Alabama, what to you is the biggest difference culture-wise from when you were at Arizona? What do you notice is different here in T-Town?
Well, the humidity's a little different.
Yeah. A little tough, right?
Yeah. Good answer.
I think just the numbers of year in and year out of people that are talking about Alabama athletics throughout the state, throughout the country, and obviously here in Tuscaloosa as well. And that's one of the things that really, the passion of our fan base is one of the things that really attracted Regina and myself to come here and join the Alabama family. We have that in Arizona. It's actually probably the most passionate fan base in the Pac-12 out west. But as we all know, who live in the South, who have spent time in the South, it's just different in the SEC. The SEC's slogan of "it just means more" is really true, and that's what makes Alabama so special. And I don't think there's a place in our country, let alone in the SEC, that has more passion than the Alabama fan base, and that what makes us great and who we are.
Greg, I know you said Regina, your beautiful wife, Roll Tide Mama, is listening this morning. I suspect as we wrap up here, this will be her favorite part of our conversation this morning. It is part 2 of Getting to Know You questions here on the Steve Shannon Morning Show with Meg Summers. All I ask is that you don't filter and just answer with the first thing that pops in your head, Greg. Okay?
Okay. Well, I'm interested to see where this goes.
Number 1, what's your favorite pig-out food?
Oh, boy. Probably cookie dough.
Yeah.
Number 2, what was your worst subject in school?
I was actually pretty good at math, but I was terrible at geometry.
Oh, okay. All right. Number 3, what was your first concert?
Autzen Stadium in Eugene, where the Ducks play, in 1983. It was Sammy Hagar, Journey, and Bryan Adams.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
You have great taste in music. Golly, we need to give you a radio station to program in your spare time.
There we go.
What? Oh, we have one? We do? All right. We'll have our people call your people. Name a celebrity that gets on your nerves.
I don't pay much attention to the Hollywood stuff. I'm terrible. I'm friends with Scott Stuber, who's a big Hollywood producer.
Yeah.
He did Ted and a bunch of other movies. And I told man I can't talk to you about any of your movies because I've never seen hardly any of them. So celebrity gets on my nerves. God, I couldn't tell you one.
Well, that's good, I guess. They don't bother you. All right, the next one, if we had Regina, your wife, on the phone, she could answer this right away. What was your last argument about?
Last argument about... I don't know. That's a good question.
Come on, you do know.
No, well, I'm trying to think. One thing I'm really good at is putting it in the rearview mirror and moving on.
Well, that's good.
And not holding grudges.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure we got on each other's nerves at some point during the move.
During the move? Yeah, well, that'll test your patience. How do you and Roll Tide Mama argue? I mean, some people do the silent treatment for a few days. Some guys end up sleeping on the couch.
No, I've never slept on the couch. Basically, at the end of the day, it's pretty darn rare where we've ever raised our voices at each other.
Really?
As we've gotten older. When we were younger and more immature, we probably didn't handle it as well. But no, we very rarely, and to Regina's absolute credit, usually when she's upset with me, she says, I don't like this, and here's why, which is great.
Yeah.
And I try to do the same things, probably sometimes better than others.
Is she usually right?
Of course, if she's listening, of course she is.
You're a smart athletic director.
That's right.
Greg Byrne, thank you so much for your time. The more we spend time with you, the more we love you, man. And we're so happy you're part of the Crimson Tide family. We want to meet you and Regina in person maybe when the dust settles and you have a little free time. All right, my friend?
We'll look forward to it. Absolutely. Maybe we can come in the studio sometime.
And if you need any help decorating that office, Meg's available.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if you have any ideas, Meg.
Oh,
You got it. All right, thanks.
The Steve Shannon